It was a cold Friday evening in Chicago, the kind of night when the city lights reflected off wet pavement and people hurried home after a long day. Traffic was heavy, and the sound of car horns mixed with distant sirens. On the corner of a busy street stood a small convenience store called Maple Street Market, run by an elderly immigrant named Mr. Hassan. He had owned the store for over 20 years. To the neighborhood, he wasn't just a shopkeeper, he was family. He gave free candy to kids, trusted regular customers on credit, and always greeted everyone with a warm smile. That same evening, a motorcycle engine roared down the street. The rider was Jake Turner, a tall, broad-shouldered biker in his mid-30s. He wore a black leather jacket, worn jeans, and heavy boots. His beard and tattoos made many people nervous at first glance, but those who knew him understood he had a kind heart. Jake worked as a mechanic during the day and spent his evenings riding to clear his mind. As Jake slowed near Maple Street Market, he noticed something unusual. The store lights were still on, but the front door was slightly open. That was strange. Mr. Hassan always kept the door closed during late hours. Jake parked his motorcycle at the curb. He removed his helmet and listened carefully. From inside the store, he heard shouting, "Give me all the money. Now!" a harsh voice demanded. Jake's heart began to pound. He stepped quietly toward the entrance and peeked through the glass. Inside, a young man wearing a hoodie and a mask was pointing a gun at Mr. Hassan, who stood trembling behind the counter. The cash register drawer was open, and bills were scattered across the surface. Mr. Hassan's voice shook. Please, take the money and leave. Don't hurt me." The robber slammed his fist on the counter. "Hurry up, old man." Jake felt a surge of anger and fear. He knew calling the police would take time, and the situation could turn dangerous at any second. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he remembered something his late father used to say, "A real courage is doing the right thing when others are afraid." Jake took a deep breath. He pushed the door open slowly and stepped inside. The bell above the door rang loudly. Both the robber and Mr. Hassan turned toward him. The robber shouted, pointing the gun at Jake. "Stay back or I'll shoot." Jake raised his hands calmly. "Take it easy," he said in a steady voice. "Nobody needs to get hurt tonight." The robber's hands trembled. He looked nervous, more scared than dangerous. "I'll get out," the robber yelled. "This isn't your business." Jake noticed the young man's eyes. They weren't filled with hatred. They were filled with desperation. Jake spoke gently. "Listen," he said. Whatever you're going through, this is in the way. You don't want to ruin your life over a few dollars." For a second, the robber hesitated. That moment was enough. Jake quickly stepped forward and grabbed the robber's arm. The gun fell to the floor with a loud clatter. The two men struggled, knocking over a display of snacks. Mr. Hassan gasped. Jake used his strength to pin the robber to the ground. He held him firmly but carefully, making sure the weapon was out of reach. "Calm down," Jake said. "It's over." Within minutes, the sound of police sirens filled the street. A passerby had called 911 after seeing the commotion. Two officers rushed inside and took control of the situation, handcuffing the robber and reading him his rights. As the police led the young man outside, he looked back at Jake. Tears streamed down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Jake nodded quietly. After the officers left, silence filled the store. Mr. Hassan slowly walked around the counter. His hands were still shaking. He looked at Jake with gratitude in his eyes. "You saved my life," he said softly. Jake shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do." But Mr. Hassan disagreed. "No," he said firmly. "Not everyone would risk their life for a stranger." The elderly man reached into the cooler and pulled out a bottle of water. He handed it to Jake. "Thank you, my son." Jake smiled for the first time that night. Outside, a small crowd had gathered. Some people clapped. Others recorded videos on their phones. Jake felt uncomfortable with the attention. He wasn't a hero in his own mind, just a regular man who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Before leaving, Mr. Hassan placed a gentle hand on Jake's shoulder. "This store will always be your home," he said. Jake nodded, put on his helmet, and started his motorcycle. The engine roared to life. As he rode away into the night, the city lights stretched ahead of him like a long road of possibilities. He didn't know that someone in the crowd had captured the entire incident on video. By the next morning, the footage was everywhere. on social media, news channels, and community pages. People across the country were calling him the biker hero, but Jake never chased fame.
Jake has never chased fame.
He simply returned to work at his garage, fixing engines and helping customers just as he always had. Because for him, being a hero wasn't about recognition. It was about courage, kindness, and standing up for others when it mattered most. And sometimes the person who looks the toughest on the outside has the biggest heart on the inside.